You're listening to the Joel Martin Mastery Podcast, your source of music news, stories, and 2-hour deep dive interviews with bands that have sold over 150 million albums. If you've been enjoying the podcast, please take a moment to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Now let's dive in to today's episode. Welcome to the Joel Martin Mastery Podcast. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We are joined by a very special guest. He's achieved a level of mastery as the singer and guitarist for the gold-selling, #1 charting, and Juno-nominated band illScarlett. So welcome to the podcast, Alex Norman. Alex, how are you? And is it true that you're 99% convinced that Sasquatch really exists?
Hi, Joel. How are you? Yeah, I have to say I'm a big Sasquatch fan. From what I've looked into since I was very young to nowadays, listening to different podcasts and just the anecdotal evidence that's out there, I think there's a pretty good chance he's out there. I mean, it's not crazy to think that something that once kind of existed, Gigantopithecus, years and years ago, that became extinct, was basically a Sasquatch. How it could not have maybe existed, not gone completely extinct and can exist. I think there's a better argument for Sasquatch existing versus ghosts and aliens, but that's just me.
So there's some compelling evidence that you've seen over the years. And do you think there's just one Sasquatch that's ever been seen? Is there a whole family of Sasquatches?
Yeah, no, there's a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch of them. I can't remember what the estimates are in North America, but there's different troops all over North America as well as the world. It's also one of those things that is ubiquitous throughout the entire planet, that a lot of different cultures talk about these hairy ape men that hang out in the forest. So I think there's something to say about that it's not just relegated to one region.
Should we just cover all the theories? Do aliens exist? Is the Earth flat? Did we actually land on the moon?
Do aliens exist? I don't know. Is the Earth flat? Definitely not. Did we land on the moon? Yes, we did, 100%.
All right, so everything's covered. We have the official verdict on all three of those. So I like to start these interviews by sharing with our listeners how the guests and I know each other. So I'm going to just blast through our history. You might not remember all of this, but back in 2008, my band Distant Society played at Scene Fest in St. Catharines, and illScarlett was on the bill, as well as Cancer Bats, Silverstein, Teenage Head, Arkells, Down with Webster, Lights, and ubiquitous Synergy Seeker. So awesome festival, awesome lineup. And then 2 days later, we all came all the way back to Ottawa and we played Canada Day downtown in a parking lot in between two big buildings. They set up a stage. So we played with you there. And then in 2011, I had moved to the GTA where you guys are. And I started hosting these open mics, and you guys came in to an open mic at Boston Pizza as a special guest, as a surprise.
I do remember that.
And man, hours before the show started, there were the place was over capacity, 300 plus people. People were on tables to fit in the venue. There was lineup around the block. That was amazing. That was the most memorable open mic I've ever hosted. Then I started working at Metalworks, #1 studio in Canada. You guys have recorded there. I was there for 7 years. And while I was working there, your guitarist, Jake, he was a student at the time, and over the years, he's become illScarlett's guitarist. So I know Jake going back to the Metalworks days. Then I started the podcast, and over the last few years, I've had Suave on twice, and I've had Jake on, and that brings us to where we are today. And I actually came out to see you guys in Ottawa of May last year. You played at the Brass Monkey capacity crowd. I was at that show, and you might remember a friend of mine, Kyle, was in a wheelchair and he started crowd surfing.
Oh, yeah.
Memorable. So that's the show I was at, and here we are today.
Yeah. Wow. That's it. Yeah. I do remember some of those things. Yeah, for sure.
That's the history. And we are going to cover your entire life, your career, your discography. There's so much to get to. I want to get started all the way at the beginning. Where does this love of music come from? Is there an earliest musical memory that stands out to you?
I guess the first music I sort of started to like was Probably listening in my mom's car. She listened to a lot of Motown. So I love Motown. Being a kid at the time too, love the Disney movies. So, you know, all like the Lion King soundtrack, Little Mermaid soundtrack. A lot of the songs written by a guy named Alan Menken, who was a big Disney writer back in the day, and he's just a total G when it comes to writing. And like all those songs on those Disney movies are just incredible. Newsies was another Disney movie that I totally loved, and not too many people saw Newsies. It was a musical.
I've never even heard of it.
No,
I'll
you
have to
never
go
heard.
check that out.
That's the thing. Like that, they have a musical in New York. It came to Toronto, I think, last year, or the year before that. But just really good, really cool songs. Again, Alan Menken. It's about the true story about the newsboys strike in the early 20th century, I guess, in New York, when they took on the big publishers because they were raising the price of papers, and they started their own union basically and won. And in the end, so that would be my first music. And then as you get a little bit older and you get into school, you start, your friends start listening to bands. One of the first tapes, actually, the first tape I ever got was Ace of Base, The Sign.
No way. That's
That was the
awesome.
first one. And it's crazy because that's actually kind of a reggae album too when you listen to Ace of Base. Like it's produced pop, but a lot of the grooves are reggae. And then getting into like Smashing Pumpkins, like that Siamese Dream. No, not Siamese Dream. Yeah, Siamese Dream record when that came out. That was a big one. I think it was like grade 4, grade 5, or something like that. Big Green Day fan. Offspring. Actually, the first live show I ever went to in my life, I think I was in grade 6, and I went to go see the Offspring for the Smash tour
That's
at
amazing.
Varsity Arena in Toronto, and the Vandals and the Lunatics were playing as well.
That album was a big one for me. Those singles, Self Esteem and Come Out and Play, and
Oh yeah,
Gone Away. No, Gone Away was the next album, I think. But I think it's at one point it was, and I think it still is, the best selling independent album of all
yeah. I think
time. Sells over 10 million copies independently, which makes no sense.
yeah, that is crazy. Yeah, so that would be kind of where I started, I guess.
And at what point did you go from being a music lover, just listening to music, to actually picking up an instrument like the guitar?
So I would have been again in grade 6, I think grade 6 or 7, and I was in a split class, and I was in a split class with Scotty from Cancer Bats, and I remember he was the first kid I knew that had a guitar, and he brought it into school one day, and he played in the gym or something like that, and it was one of those old those like BC Rich sort of guitars with the cracked finish on it. It was white with the black cracked finish. So yeah, the first kid I ever knew to play guitar was Scotty from Cancer Bats when I was like, I don't know, 11 or 12. And then I saw that, and then I told my mom I have to have a guitar, so I got an electric guitar.
That's Scotty, aka Scott Middleton.
That's right,
And
Scott.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't reach out to one Scott Middleton and get some kind words sent in. So this is from Scott Middleton, founding guitarist and backing vocalist for the Cancer Bats, 5-time Juno nominated band. He says quite a bit, so hang with me here. He
Okay.
says it's story time with Scotty. He
Oh,
says
cool.
Alex Norman and I went to the same elementary school in Clarkson, Mississauga. Even though I was a year older, he was always a hilarious and fun kid that I enjoyed hanging around. I still remember us being like 10 and 11, sitting together on the school bus ride home, getting hyped about whatever new music we were discovering, and me probably waxing on about Metallica and how I just bought my first guitar.
Yeah.
We reconnected in our mid-teens at Iona, our Catholic high school, in the same music class as John Doherty and Suave Pure of illScarlett. We all bonded over 90s underground alternative punk and metal. Alex was already a great guitarist by that point, but it was plainly obvious he could sing better than any of us and actually had the guts to get on stage and do it. I've got great memories of the two of us doing Bob Marley's Redemption song as a duo at a school performance, and later covering Deftones and Hum with Alex and his bandmates at different school events.
Yep.
One of my funniest memories was the last day of high school. Alex came up with this genius prank. We told the teachers we were going to play Backstreet Boys, Quit Playing Games with My Heart at the big end of the year assembly. The teaching staff were super square and already hated our loud sets that tested their Catholic sensibility. But with us auditioning a pop song, they let their guard down and let us headline the assembly. So on the final day, we start the song. All the normie kids lose their minds cheering because nobody expected us to play boy band pop. And right after the first chorus, we slam straight into Twisted Sisters. We're not going to take it full blast as a
Yeah,
huge surprise.
that's
The,
true.
the teachers looked horrified. We were dying laughing, having the best time, and the whole student body went nuts, moshing and headbanging. It was absolutely the perfect way to finish high school. I also remember catching their band Napoleon Solo in Toronto before illScarlett even existed. The
Wow.
place was packed wall to wall with sweaty kids at this venue called the Cathedral, and they absolutely owned it. The moment Alex grabbed the mic, you felt the energy shift. The guy had insane confidence, charisma, and pure frontman dominance. Coming from a sleepy, written off suburb like Mississauga, seeing kids from our area kill it on a Toronto stage made everything feel possible, especially because of the reaction they were getting to their own songs and not just covers. And he finishes up with this. So when illScarlett, Alex, John, Suave, and Will started taking off and blowing up, I wasn't shocked at all. Even though we ended up in pretty different scenes genre wise as we got older, we've only crossed paths a handful of times since then, but I saw their massive potential back when we were teenagers. I've always been proud as hell watching them kill it, touring their asses off around the world, just like we did in our 20s and 30s. And I'm super stoked they've had the longevity and success they deserve. Say hi for me. That's from Scotty of the Cancer Bats.
Wow. That's cool. Uh, that's really cool. Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Man, he provided a lot of stories from back in the day there, which I appreciated.
Yeah, he did. That's crazy. That is cool.
You pick up a guitar. At what point does the singing and songwriting come into play?
I think I always wanted to be a singer. I just never thought I could be a singer. So in high school, I was jamming with these two other guys, and one guy played guitar, one guy played bass, and we were just jamming, and we didn't have a drummer. And trying to play songs without a drummer or a singer, it's hard to know like where we are in the song. So then I said like I would just start singing because I knew the words just to keep us in place. And I did, and they said, you sound pretty good. Why don't you just sing, and then we don't have to look for a singer. So I did. We never really did much as a band, but that was the first time I started singing, as like a lead singer or whatever. And it just, yeah, I fell in love with it and just kept working at it and working at it. And yeah, joined other bands and joined as the singer and has always been the singer.
And as a kid, was there anything you wanted to be growing up besides a musician?
Besides a musician, um, I don't know, maybe a police officer at one point. But no,
Professional skateboarder, an NHL player, anything? Anything
uh,
come to mind?
no, probably when I was like younger, before music, like an actor. I really enjoyed acting, like being in a couple plays and stuff like that. No, I never was knew I knew I was never good enough to play in the NHL. I knew I was never good enough to be a pro skateboarder. But yeah, acting or singing or yeah.
And in which ways do you think growing up in the Mississauga area shaped you as a person and later on as a musician? There's lots of great bands out of Mississauga, surprisingly.
Yeah. I think it's like a suburb thing that happens, like like Burlington or St. Catharines. I think when you have these suburbs where everything's kind of spread out and there's not really um a central sort of area that people congregate, you sort of naturally gravitate towards people with similar interests. So if you're like music, you're gonna hang out with people who play instruments and listen to music. So I think that's why a lot of cool bands come out of the suburbs, because there's nothing else to do. So you're gonna hang out with people like that. Again, being Mississauga, I love Mississauga. It's very multicultural. There's all sorts of types of people, and I like that. Great food. But it is a nightmare trying to get like you cannot get from South Mississauga, from where I am to North Mississauga in less than 45 minutes. Like it is impossible. And even going into the city right now is just mental. I had to go downtown the other day and it was crazy. Like it is nuts. It is nuts. I don't know how people sit in traffic like that.
Because the roads are more set up to go east to west, right? Not north to
Exactly.
south.
Yeah, north south. There is no highway unless you take the ETR, but then you have to pay for that, and no one wants to do that. But even still, you have to. It's not great.
I'm originally from Ottawa. I lived in the GTA for 11 years, and I remember the first time I got a ticket for being on the highway where you have to pay. I didn't know those existed. I mean, there's none around Ottawa, so I didn't know.
Oh
I didn't know. I was like offended that I had to pay to drive on a road. I didn't know that was a thing,
no.
and so I thought that was kind of funny. If I met you at 12 years old, who would I be meeting? What was Alex like back then?
At 12, how old have I been? Probably would have had like the long Kurt Cobain hair. Um, probably rocking a Bush t-shirt. So I was a
Nice.
big Bush fan. I forgot that I really like Bush. Um, I played hockey still. I don't remember really. I think I'm the same person, but obviously I'm not. But I can't imagine being anything different.
So Bush, was it the Razor Blade Suitcase albums, the 16 Stone
16
albums?
Stone, yeah, so for sure. 16 Stone was the first album, and then I got Razorblade Suitcase, and then after that, I sort of it petered off. But yeah.
Did you play in a bunch of bands growing up before illScarlett? Because you were pretty young during illScarlett, so maybe that was the early days.
Yeah, just in high school, played with a couple buddies. Like I played in a band with John from our band, Napoleon Solo. We had a band there, and then Slavik. I played in a band with him called the Saturday Morning Cartoon Special with this other guy, this guy named Rob Crumpton. But those didn't really do anything. And then Suave and I kept playing together, and we started, listening to a lot of Sublime, smoking a lot of weed, and just started playing like reggae tunes. And we also have a big, we're also big Deftones fans and like heavy fans too. So that's why we have a little bit more rock in our music than just strictly reggae sort of stuff. But no, I didn't really play in a lot of bands. Like there's some guys who play in like 10 different bands, and I don't understand how they do it. Like it just seems like a lot, but
It's hard enough to be successful with one band. If you
yeah,
split yourself amongst 10 bands, it seems. I
yeah,
wonder if it's less likely to be successful or more because you have different chances maybe to one band blows up.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I would say probably better chances if you're in a multiple bands. There's probably a better chance of success, I guess.
And how early on did you realize that you had something special to offer as a musician and that maybe if you applied yourself that this could become a career instead of just a hobby?
I think probably like I mean like a little bit in high school, like what Scotty was talking about, like when we would play at the end of the year, sort of ceremonies and stuff, and like people genuinely enjoyed it and like it was good, and like I know when we have a good show, I know when you have a bad show, and back then I knew we were doing pretty good, and I think it was more like when illScarlett first started, Suave and I, when we first started doing like jam nights and just doing like little shows around Missy and having like lots of people come out to it, and um just have people who genuinely liked it. I think that was when it was like felt more than just a hobby sort of thing, but like if we put a little bit of effort and focus into it, maybe we could do this professionally.
And once you decided to do this professionally, did you run into any kind of resistance or negativity from friends or family, or was everyone mostly supportive from the start?
Yeah, I think I can't say anyone was like trying to dream crush. Like the only time that I remember that like someone told me like I was stupid, and this is a true story. I used to work at West 49 at Air Mills Town Center, and I remember there was this lady who was buying some stuff, and She was an older woman, and she said something to me like, "Oh, do you go to school?" I was like, "Oh no, I don't go to school. I work here, and I'm a musician. I'm gonna play in a band." And she said like, and this is not verbatim because I don't really remember the story too well, but she said something to me like, "Oh, if you don't go to school, you're stupid and you're gonna be nothing." And then from that, I took that idea, and that's how I thought like, well, I guess I'm just nothing special. And then we wrote the song "Nothing Special" based on that lady telling me we'd be nothing.
We got an origin story there to one of the
Yeah.
hit singles. That's pretty cool. Let's dive into your career with illScarlett. So, how did you meet the other members? So, it sounds like you went to high school with Suave.
Yep.
What about the rest of the band?
I went to high school with Suave. I went to high school with John Doherty. Um, and then one of our guitar players, Will, we met him through this girl, a Nick, who's a friend of ours, and she worked at West 49, and she was from Meadowvale, and she knew Will. I think it was her boyfriend at the time. And he played in a band called Might As Well. But he was actually a bass player. But then he heard we need a guitar player, so he just started playing guitar. So that's how we got Will. And then we had our friend uh, Pat, Pat Kennedy. We used to have a DJ, Pat Kennedy, and I met him through another guy at West 49 who I worked with, this guy named Derek, and he introduced us to Pat, and Pat came and jammed with us, and it sounded good. And we also had an after Doherty left. It gets a little confusing because we've had like John Doherty's played like three different instruments in our band, but when we Suave and I needed a bass player at one point, and I actually met this guy Dan, who was our first bass player, and I met him while working at West 49. So
West
it's like,
49 is like the central hub of this band and this
you
story.
know what? I have to say, like, I haven't been to West in a long time, and it kind of fell off. I feel a little bit at like in in the later years, but while I worked there at West, like from 2001 to somewhere around 2001, 2002 till 2005, I guess, whenever it was. They were really supportive of the band. Like they would let me give out my demos. They'd let me give out flyers to shows. And it wasn't just like the store managers, like corporate was fine with it too. Because I think they saw the value in having, you know, someone in the actual culture, working there. But we used to do at at West, we like for our early shows when we would play in like different markets, like Guelph especially. What we would do is we would offer bus tickets from Erin Mills Town Center to Guelph, that kids could come and buy like a $2 token like bus ticket, and we would rent a school bus and bus them from Erin Mills to Guelph and then back again, so that a market we've never played before, we might be the second or third band on before the headliner. But we have like, 50, 60 kids here. So it looks like, who are these guys? Like, how do they have so many people here? So it just looks really good. And we used to sell those tickets through West, like over the counter. Like if I wasn't there, someone else would sell the tickets for me. So I have to give West 49 huge props for initially just letting me do my thing and being very supportive of it.
When we scheduled this interview, I put out the bat signal to the illScarlett fans to take in fan questions, and I got a ton of questions, so I'm going to sprinkle them in here throughout the rest of the interview. The first one is from Evelyn Withrow. Her question is, I'm curious where the name illScarlett came from.
The name illScarlett came from, it was actually just a placeholder name. Suave and I recorded this really, really, really bad demo. Way early into our career, and the idea was we would record it and drop it off at this bar in Mississauga. I can't remember what it was called. Doesn't really matter, but we didn't really have a name for it. We had this recording, so on the way up to this place, you drive through an area called Sherwood Forest, which is in Mississauga, and all the streets around there are named after characters in the Robin Hood fable or legend. So there's like Robin Hood, Friar Tuck, Maid Marian, and then there's a Will Scarlett Drive. And you know, I was always I was a huge Robin Hood, the Kevin Costner movie, Prince of Thieves. I was a huge fan of that movie, a huge Christian Slater fan too. And he played Will Scarlett, and I think I said Will Scarlett, and then Suave said, "How about illScarlett?" And we are like, "Yeah, that's fine," because we were literally 2 minutes away from the place we're going to drop off our demo, so we had to write something on it. So we just did that, and never got around to changing it. We never got the gig, but we got the name.
That's awesome. And what was the music scene like back when you formed the band around 2001?
The music scene back then.
Like, was ska popular then, like your style of music? Sublime was already awesome back then.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of like there were a few ska bands. There was like Big Fresh Daily and the Johnstones and the Next Best Thing. Those guys were fucking great. But there was also a lot of like that emo sort of stuff. I remember like The Reason put out that record, Ravena, I think, right around that time, which is also a great friggin' record. So yeah, it was a lot of that emo, screamo sort of stuff, but then there was also actually it was mostly emo, screamo stuff. So but there were a few ska bands and there were a few indie bands, of course, and you know, hip hop bands and yeah, it was kind of eclectic, but definitely heavy on the emo screamo. Like Alexis was just starting to break, so a lot of bands that sounded like that.
Once you guys were officially called illScarlett, do you remember the first show you guys ever played
The first show we ever played
as illScarlett?
as Ilska, I don't
No,
remember.
it's just a
Suave,
hot mess of shows.
Suave would remember. Suave for sure would remember, but I don't remember it right now.
Speaking of Suave, I reached out to the big boss man himself and I got some kind words. So this is what Suave says. He says, Alex and I have been playing music together since we were 16. So
Mhm.
over a quarter century now. I give him a lot of credit for helping me become a solid drummer. Not because he ever taught me anything outright, but because he's such a steady, tasteful rhythm guitar player. When most kids start playing an instrument, they tend to overplay and want to show off their crazy shredding skills, never realizing that overplaying usually feels a bit corny and doesn't serve the song. Don't get me wrong, a well placed, tasteful solo absolutely has its place, especially live and definitely in the 80s. But overall, everyone in the band needs to know their role and remember that most people are listening to the words and the melody. It's the band's job to support those two core elements, not compete with them. Alex has always had a great natural sense of melody, supported by simple, solid, and super catchy chord progressions. Playing alongside that helped me tighten up my own meter, especially compared to jamming with other guys where everyone is basically soloing over each other. Another fun fact about Norman, he's freakish good at Jeopardy. So that's from Suave, drummer for illScarlett.
That's funny. Yeah, no, it's true. I'm actually not. I mean, Scotty said I'm a great guitar player. I'm not really a great guitar player, but I can play rhythm pretty solid.
And you do have these mad skills when it comes to Jeopardy. You just know random facts.
Yeah, it's trivia. It's trivia. I love Jeopardy. I watch a lot of Jeopardy. Love Trivial Pursuit. I tried out for Jeopardy once, didn't make it, but yeah, it's just this brain that I have. I'm able to remember random facts, and then when you're playing Jeopardy too, a lot of the answers in the clue, and you just have to sort of take keywords and then put them together. And I guess that's the skill of it. But some of those people on Jeopardy are just crazy good. Like those champions are just nuts.
In 2003, you guys released the Streetsville Masonic Lodge handout. Is that what people refer to as the $5 demo, or is that something different?
What did you call it? What did you call it? I don't even know what that is.
The $5 demo or
I know
the
that
the other one, the Streetsville Masonic Lodge handout? Apparently, that's was there something recorded
that
at the
must be the five
Streetsville
dollar
Lodge?
demo. That must be the
Okay.
five. That must be that's what that is.
Okay. Was it recorded at the Masonic Lodge, or
No,
you would hand it out at the Masonic Lodge? I
yeah, we
wonder where
must.
this name came from.
Yeah, I don't know. It must have been handed out at the Masonic. It was just a small five or six song demo, and Masonic was kind of our headquarters back in the day. That's where we had our first like big shows and like sellout shows, and yeah, that was our hub, I guess. So yeah, we would have been handing out the demo there.
And when you think back to that demo, what thoughts, memories, emotions come back to you now? Like what opportunities presented themselves once you finally had something physical, tangible that you could hand out to show your skill and talent instead of just telling people, hey, we're a good band, you should come check us out.
Yeah, I think when you have something like that, you can hand it out to people, and they can, you know, they don't just forget about you telling them to listen to your band. They actually have something to go listen to. So that was good for getting gigs and stuff. So you can give a club or a promoter, actual physical copy of something that they can refer to, and then hopefully put you on shows.
And then you guys in 2004 released illP. This is the first full length album. You guys released this independently at that point?
Yes, we did. That was totally independent. We recorded in a basement in Clarkson. This guy, is that where we recorded it? No, I don't think we did. I think that one was recorded in Burlington with Luke from The Next Best Thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what that one is. Sorry, my memory's so foggy when it comes down to all these things.
That's all good. So once that album comes out in 2004, that is around the same period of time where you guys got your big break with the famous Warp Tour story. Is that correct?
Yeah, that would have been around that time where we showed up at. So the big Warp Tour story was Warp Tour used to be, well, for all the kids watching, it used to be this music festival that punk kids would go to in the summer.
Listen up, kids. We're going to
Yeah.
teach you something.
But it was like, it's even, it's like, it was like that, the Warp Tour, going to the Warp Tour in the summer was guaranteed as sunshine. Like that was something you did because everybody did it. And they used to do it at a lot of times at Molson Park in Barrie. That's not there anymore. But yeah, so our plan was to show up the night before because we had heard that people show up the night before to sort of tailgate in the parking lot. And we figured we'd go and we would set up a generator and play and just make some fans that way. And then, go to the show the next day, whatever. But when we got there, it was pouring rain, just pouring rain. And there was no one there. So we're like, well, this isn't going to work at all. So then we just figured, like, why don't we just, let's see. I don't know why we thought to do this, but they're like, let's just go into Molson Park. Maybe we can get in there before everybody. So we went there and there was security there and they said, what are you guys doing? We're like, oh, we're just trying to find a place to park. They're like, oh, well, you park out there in the lot. We're like, okay. And then they look in our van, like, are you guys a band? And we're like, yeah, we're a band. We're like, oh, all the bands are parking in here. So just come on this way. So they escorted us in and no one's there. Like there's no production. There's nothing in Molson Park. It's pouring rain, middle of the night. And we just found a piece of concrete and just parked on it and just fell asleep in the van. And then in the morning we woke up and it was like Warp Tour all around us. Like production snuck in while we were
It's like a blow up tent, like just and then everything's
like
up.
Stages everywhere. There's vendors and people walking around and just our van sitting in the middle of this.
They built the Warp Tour around the
yeah,
van.
basically it felt like that. It was like they just built around us. So Swab decided he's going to go and find the production office, and see if he can get us on maybe a stage, like a band didn't make it across the border and they have an extra spot that we can slide onto. But he went there and they even had a sign that says, like, if your band's not scheduled to perform today, you're not going to perform today. So we said, well, that's dumb. So he came back and we were like, well, we tried, nothing else we can do, but why don't we go and set up for the lineup? Because there's a huge lineup for people getting in, and we'll set up our generator there and make, we'll do the same thing we're going to do last night, but tonight. So we did that, pulled the van up, jumped out of the van, set up the generator, all our gear, and just started performing for the lineup.
And did you guys already have a generator, or you rented one? Or?
Yeah, we rented a generator.
Okay.
So we just rented a generator. And yeah, set up, started playing, and I don't know how many songs it was in, but it wasn't that long when one of our friends, our friend Kristen, said that one of the security guards was heard us, and he called Kevin Lyman, the guy who runs Warped Tour, and he said there's a band playing out here that sounds like Sublime. You should come check them out. So Kevin came out, very busy schedule, probably caught a song. And he said, yeah, yeah, they're great. Bring them inside. I want them to play my barbecue tonight. So yeah, she told us like, yeah, you guys are getting passes and you're gonna go inside and you're gonna play the barbecue tonight. And we're like, what? Like this is crazy. There was like one of those
It's
movie
like out of a
moments.
movie, yeah, out of Almost Famous or
That
something.
I was gonna say Almost Famous, but I couldn't remember a scene in Almost Famous where that sort of happens. I was thinking more like Rockstar, I guess, like when he gets the gig from, being just the tribute singer. Anyways, so yeah, like yeah, we totally got our passes, like got to go into the Warp Tour, like while the Warp Tour's going. We had an escort drive us through the crowd so we could park our van behind production where they do the barbecue. And for sure, for the that night we played for like 2 hours in the for the Warp Tour barbecue for all the other bands that were playing there, and we must have played like I say 2 hours, and we did not know 2 hours worth of songs, but we were just trying to figure out songs as we went along, like Goldfinger songs, and just try and figure out the chords. And it played a lot of Sublime songs, but it worked out. And from there, we established a relationship with Kevin Lyman, and the next year he gave us the two Canadian dates, so Montreal and Toronto. And then it was either the year after that or the next couple of years. We got 2 weeks on the Warp Tour to the States. And then a couple of years after that, I think it was 2012, maybe 2011. I'm so bad with dates, but we did the full North American Warp Tour, which was 45 shows in 54 days. And it is awesome. It is basically my favorite experience of the summer was doing the Warp Tour and just slugging it out in all these hot venues and just sweating, and it was fun, so much fun. You get up early in the morning, you help build the stage, and then you play your set, and then you go to a party at the end of the night. You go to sleep on the bus, and then you wake up the next day and you do it all over again. It was the best. That's the way it'd be.
Kevin Lyman's Warp Tour barbecues are like the thing of legend. You would play and it would be all the biggest bands are
Yeah,
walking by and listening and hanging out. Can you remember any of the bands that you happened to see there while you played?
I can't remember exactly. I think Eric Melvin was there. Like, was NoFX playing that day? It really was such a blur, and the whole experience was just, again, it was like, am I dreaming? Like, is this real?
You're actually still processing it today.
Yeah, like it was cool. It was definitely like one of my like top ninja moments of my life. Was when we decided to do that, and it all worked out. No, I can't really remember too much about. I don't even remember playing the set or anything like that. It was just such a blur.
When looking at your career, it feels like the Warp Tour scenario was kind of the start of a few things that led to the success that you guys would go on to have. Like that was maybe the foundation. From there, it's you get some contacts, you gain some credibility, you build a fan base, and then from there in 2006 you release the album Clearly in Another Fine Mess, and suddenly you're getting some radio play from the song Heaters.
Yeah, yeah. So that was so we had released Clearly in Another Fine Mess, which we recorded at a studio in Etobicoke with this guy Mike Burkowski. Um, and yeah, we were selling that through shows. And Barry Taylor from The Edge, he was always a early supporter of us. Had us on the Punk Show, and they had like Steam Whistle Indie Night, I think it was called, where they'd have indie bands play at the Edge on Friday nights. When Edge used to have that awesome studio right at Yonge and Dundas there. Yeah, so Barry was a huge supporter of us really early on, and he had that record. And the way Heaters got on the radio was he was going into a production meeting, a programming meeting, and he basically took our song Heaters and he played it for everybody, and he basically forced them to put it on light rotation. So he called us and says, "Yeah, I got your song on the edge." We're like, "What? This is crazy!" Like we'd already heard a couple of our songs on the edge, but those were on like the punk show or like really the really
Kind of
free.
smaller.
Yeah, like it's not part of rotation. It's like separate from the regular programming sort of thing. But yeah, we got heaters on the radio, and it went from light rotation, and then it went to medium rotation, and then enough people liked it that it went to heavy rotation, and yeah, it was really cool to be working. I worked at a factory that made like movie theater truss systems, and like we had the edge on, and I'd be working like punching angle iron and hearing my song playing on the radio. So that was pretty cool, and that's when I guess all the labels started coming around and seeing what they could do for us, and yeah,
The song going from light to medium to heavy rotation, that's just from response. That's from people
yeah,
calling in, or maybe they're playing it for other professionals, and the professionals are like, yeah, we like that as well.
yeah. No, I think it was more based on like response because the Edge also used to do like a ranking system, like I can't remember what it was called, but it was like the top 10 or the top 20 of the week or something like that. So people could write in and vote on the song that they wanted. And I guess through that, we would get you know, enough people wanted to hear that song Eaters that it went into higher rotations. And yeah, it was on heavy rotation for a while. And then they picked up 1A. And then that song was also heavy rotation. And yeah, everything was going good.
At that point, you guys are completely independent, and
Yep.
you've had two songs in heavy rotation on one of the biggest radio stations in all of Canada.
Yeah, I think so. Did we have both the songs on, or maybe 1A came a little bit after that? I can't remember, but yeah, we had a huge song, like a big song, but no one could buy it anywhere. No one could find it, because we were just independent bands, so they have to come to a show to buy it. And yeah, that's when the labels started coming around, and um, yeah,
Is it true that you guys sold like 15,000 albums independently?
sure.
We'll go
I
with
don't.
that.
Yeah,
Whatever.
that's like
It's
we
a
did
nice
sell a lot of
number.
them for sure. We sold a lot of them. I don't know what the actual count is, but yeah, it was good.
And then record labels come around, there starts to be interest. You guys sign with Sony BMG Canada.
Yep.
Was it because of a mix of the radio play, good attendance now at shows when you're performing, perhaps 15,000 independent albums sold? It was a combination of everything.
Yeah, it definitely was probably had a lot to do with the radio, and our shows were really good and exciting, and they sold out. So yeah, we had a couple different labels interested, but the ones that Sony was the first one that came knocking, and they just seemed to get it more than everyone else, and they just seemed really focused on it, and yeah, that's why we went with Sony.
So you sign with Sony, and then can you walk me through what happens after that? You sign, you're now a major label band, and how do you get to the EP that you release?
Right. So we had so clearly and another fine mess was already out, but then Sony we signed with Sony and they wanted to put something out quick. And since clearly wasn't available in stores or anything like that, that was sort of repackaged and re-released as the Epidemic under Sony's indie imprint called Red Ink. So that was put out there while we went well while we did some writing and got ready to go and make our first full length debut record all day with it. So we had something that was out while we were getting the other one ready.
The songs that were on clearly in Another Fine Mess that ended up on Epidemic, were they re-recorded, or it's the same ones? Were they mixed differently or mastered, or they just sounded so good on the independent one that they didn't have to do anything to them?
I'd imagine at the very least they would have been remastered. They might have been remixed too, but I can't say for sure. But they're very similar to the Clearly in Another Fine Mess recordings.
In the song 1A, When you say we're going to Neil's party, is that
Yep,
about Neil Lyons from the band The North?
that is. That's
Okay.
100%. Yeah, because Neil was he was one of the first dudes we met in Streetsville when we started doing the jam night circuit up there. Like we would like when Suave and I were first getting, we didn't really have shows, but we wanted to play for people. So he and I would go to different jam nights around Mississauga, specifically the Fox and Fiddle at Dundas and Winston Churchill on like a Tuesday, I think, or maybe it was a Thursday. But then the other one was the one in Streetsville. Maybe you remember it. The Devil's Harp. Was it the Devil's Harp? I think Christian used to host the jam night there. So we do, Fox and Fiddle Tuesday, Devil's Harp Thursday, and then there was another Fox and Fiddle by Square One, I think, that also had a jam night. So we'd, 3 nights out of the week we were going to jam nights and play 2 or 3 songs. But it was fun, and it was really good practice to learning how to play for people. And yeah, you just get more comfortable with playing for different people, and yeah.
I reached out to Neil Lyons, who's forever immortalized in the lyrics of the song 1A. And
Wow.
Neil has a question for you.
Oh man.
He has
Okay.
a few questions. He says, I'd love to know what his favorite lyric is, both his own and of all time. Also, when Ill was coming up in the Missy Jam Night scene, they brilliantly used tasteful covers to set up their originals. What was his favorite song to play from that era? So, what are some of your favorite lyrics from
Okay.
your own band and from other bands? And then, what are some of your favorite songs to cover from the open mic days?
Oh
Good,
man.
good questions from Neil.
Good questions, but they're also like brain noodle scratchers. My favorite lyric. Um, I can't think of what my favorite lyric would be. They're all kind of silly. Um, I'm gonna have to pass on my favorite of my own lyric. I don't know. As far as other people's lyrics, uh, God, there's so many lyrics out
Yeah.
there.
Is there any song that when you hear it, you're like, man, I don't know how somebody wrote that. It's magic or it's perfect. Or there's a great story like A Boy Named Sue or He Stopped Loving Her Today or anything come to mind for you. It's hard on the spot, I know.
Really hard. I guess I like this is weird, but the lyric that's coming to my head. Do you remember that movie Josie and the Pussycats?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have that one three small words. So I never realized this, but in the chorus it goes, it took 6 whole hours and 5 long days for all your lies to come undone, and those three small words were way too late. Can't you see that I'm the one?
Okay,
Six
that's
last
hard to
words.
put together.
And I thought, and I've heard that song years ago, and it wasn't until like within the last year that I was listening to that song. I was like, that is clever. That is a clever friggin' lyric. Um, I guess not a lyric, but going back to the Disney songs, Under the Sea, it goes do 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 do. That one. I'm pretty sure, although I've never been able to like confirm this with like the internet, but I'm pretty sure the do 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 is supposed to be the sound of bubbles coming up from
Okay.
the water. Do 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 do. And maybe that's just me, but if that is actually what they did, that is clever, clever.
That's genius. And can you remember any of the covers that you guys used to play back in the day?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I think one of my favorites was "Living on a Prayer." We used to do "Living on a Prayer," and that's a
That's hard
great.
to sing.
That is a really hard song to sing. That's a bar song. It's a good bar song. We used to do "Walking on Sunshine," "Katrina and the Waves." That was a good one.
Crowds love it when you play that.
Yeah. Uh, Bunch of Sublime songs. Like I love to play "Caress Me Down" because that one has that, the 2 verses in Spanish. So I learned how to sing that in Spanish. So it's not a song that other people play. I mean, the last thing we want to like, it's a good song, but like when you go to a jam night or whatever, and people play a Sublime song, like 9 times out of 10, It's fucking Santeria.
Or
Good
what I
song,
got. Yeah.
or what I got, and good songs, but they just over them. So Crest Me Down's a little more of a deeper cut that I like to play.
So we have a fan question from Tim Stanley, and his question is, what's the wildest thing he witnessed or heard happened at 1A?
Wildest thing that happened, witness at when I mean, there was this one time that I don't think we were playing a show or whatever, but there was a bar across the street, and a group of us were coming in, and some guy said something to some guy, and then these guys came over, and then we were upstairs, and then all of a sudden these like goons like come up the stairs, and they like broke a bottle, and they were like getting all like angry and stuff like that, and then they left. This is not a very good story, but like we called our friend who lived there, this guy Steve, and the call went out to like everyone in Streetsville, and everyone in Streetsville came to 1A, and these guys across the street were talking shit, and then a fight broke out, and then my buddy Yarko got stabbed, and everyone was okay in the end, but that was probably the craziest thing I've seen happen at 1A for sure.
For our listeners that might not know, what is 1A? Is this a venue?
No, it's an address, 1A Main in Streetsville. So it's at Queen and Main in Streetsville, and there's I don't know if it's still there, but there was a second cup there, and above the second cup was an apartment, and that's where Neil lives. And we'd always go to his place after jam nights for like the after party, and yeah, that's 1A. So 1A is 1A Main is an address in Streetsville.
So in 2007, you guys released the album All Day With It. There's 3 singles, Nothing Special, Life of a Soldier, and Who's Got It. The first 2 songs both charted on the Billboard Hot 100 charts in Canada. What did it mean to you to have that much support from radio? It's one thing to be independent and get a song in heavy rotation, but to be signed to a major label and have 2 songs in the top 100 in Canada, that's crazy. That's another level.
Yeah, it was it was definitely uh very exciting and very welcoming to have that radio support. And like when you have radio support, you can go, your shows are just better because people know you in places that you haven't played in before. And we went to a lot of different radio stations all across the country, just stop in and play songs for them, and and do all sorts of stuff. But yeah, we were very grateful and thankful to have all the radio support, and it just made touring a lot easier.
From the stage, could you see the crowd in these new markets singing back the songs that were on the radio? So you know that, okay, it's getting played here as well.
Yeah, for sure. And that's always so cool when people like know your songs and the lyrics and they sing them to you. It helps put on a better show because you feel better and you play better, and then everyone has a better time. Yeah.
This episode has been brought to you by the Women in the Music Industry podcast. It's hosted by music producer Rob Wells, who has worked with global superstars like Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, and Selena Gomez. Through his 1-hour interviews, he shines a spotlight on the remarkable women who are breaking barriers and making their mark in the music industry. Some of his notable guests include Morgan Lander of the multi-million selling metal band Kitty, and Pam Shane, who co-wrote Genie in a Bottle for Christina Aguilera. If you're a fan of the Joel Martin Mastery podcast, you'll love the Women in the Music Industry podcast, which is available on all platforms. Behind me here, this is my wall of fame. These are my favorite albums from bands that I've interviewed on the podcast. And you can see over here, I have All Day With It. This album goes gold. Do you remember receiving the news that illScarlett has a gold-selling album?
I don't remember the receiving the news like specifically like it's a gold record. I can remember like there was a party that we had after that all of our friends and family came to, where we got our plaques, and that was really cool. But no, I don't remember that. I remember when we signed our record deal, we had I do remember signing our record deal, and then we had a big party at John's house, and we had this restaurant called Chorizo, which was like a burrito joint back in Mississauga, We had them, Frank and Phyllis are the people that owned it, and we had them cater our signing party. So we had this big party, everyone's getting drunk, and then we have, you know, tacos and burritos come catered later in the night. So that was a lot of fun.
Those were the best of times.
They were the best.
Drinks and burritos and celebrations. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a lot. I'm just looking at all your records that you got up there.
There's some good bands behind me. You got Thornley and
Uh,
Never Ending White Lights gets covered by me here, but
yeah,
Arkells, lots of good Canadian bands.
yeah. Do you have a favorite Canadian band?
So my favorite band of all time is Winter Sleep right here. This is one of my favorite albums.
Oh yeah,
So nice East Coast
they're
band.
the ones that beat us in the Junos.
I didn't want to bring that up, but yes.
It's okay. Out of all the bands, we were glad it was them.
Well, man, that was a tough category. There was
Oh yeah,
Dragonette in your category. There
yeah.
was State of Shock, and I'm
Take a
missing the
shot.
fifth one. But you had a there was a really good lineup.
Was it Mariana's Trench?
I don't think I
Favorite
don't
Drive?
think so. Yeah, Faber Drive. That's the
Favorite
fifth
Drive,
one.
yeah.
So that was a good group to be nominated with, but a tough category to win in that year.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I'm just joking. Yeah, really cool. I think my favorite Canadian band, I don't know if this is one of your questions. Probably my favorite Canadian band, I'd say, is probably Age of Electric.
Nice.
And I would love for you to get, you know,
Todd
Todd
Kearns.
or Ryan on here. That'd
Age
be
of
really,
Electric, that's remote control, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they had a few great songs. So Triumph just announced, you guys recorded a Metalworks, which goes back to the early Triumph days.
Yep.
I worked at Metalworks for 7 years. So Gil from Triumph was my boss. And they just announced in the last 48 hours their first tour in 30 years. They're doing a massive tour with April Wine, who was my last guest on the podcast. So instead of being a three-piece that you're used to with Triumph, they're a six-piece, and they have Todd Kearns in there to fill out the
No
sound.
way.
And they have Phil X from Bon Jovi, who was a
No
member of
way.
Triumph at one point. So they're a six-piece going out on an arena tour with Todd Kearns from Age of Electric.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I saw I've only seen Age of Electric once, I think. And I saw them open up for Bush at would it have been Maple Leaf Gardens at that time? Or would it have been the ACC? I don't know. But yeah, I saw them play there and that was really cool.
So Nothing Special was a big single, but it
Yep.
also had a ton of success in music video form. It
Yeah.
goes into heavy rotation at Much Music. Do
Mhm.
you remember seeing the video on Much Music, and what was that like as kids like us growing up watching their favorite bands on Much Music? And then the video goes to number one on the Much Music countdown, where again you're used to seeing all your favorite bands.
Yeah.
What was that whole experience like?
It's really cool. I mean, I don't know what the it's hard like what you jump up and down. I don't know what to do, but you're definitely like you're feeling proud and you're just like, how is this happening? I think just like this feeling of disbelief, I think is what you feel more than anything. Like, how is this real right now? Like it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, Much was very good to us. That video's, a really fun video. That video was a lot of fun to make. It was really hard to make. We started like filming for that, I think something like 6 in the morning in Etobicoke at the house, which is like the first shot of that. And I think we finished recording 4 in the morning. So it went, what, 22-hour straight film shoot. And we were just like, by the end of it, just totally toast. But we couldn't just go to sleep after that because we were scheduled to be in the Bread and Honey parade the next morning on the Strings Attached float. And I think we had to be there for like 8 or something like that. So it was literally go home, have a shower, and then go to Streetsville. And after that, I went to bed after the Bread and Honey. But I think Will and John, pretty sure those guys they went to the beer tent in Streetsville.
We're not all made equal like those
No,
guys.
no, no. Those guys are something else.
So I think all the hard work filming that music video was worth it, because you go on to get 5 nominations at the Much Music Video Awards. You get the Juno nomination. That song is still to this day the band's most popular song on Spotify, 2.5 million spins. Why do you think people love Nothing Special so much?
I don't know why they like it. I guess it gets the people going. It's got a lot of energy to it. It's, you sing it loud. I guess the message of it is like do what you do, and if just do you as hard as you can, and if it doesn't work out, well, maybe that was the plan all alone, and like you may not be the. I think Tupac said it. Tupac said something like that. I'm not gonna be the, what is it? I might not be the flame that changes the world, but I'll be the spark that starts the flame or something like that. I don't know, but
Quoting the great poet Tupac.
I didn't quote that though. That was not a quote. That was me trying to hack remember what he said.
When you finished writing and recording that song, did you know at that point that you had something special? I know it's called Nothing Special, but did you have something special?
Yeah.
Or was it only once it came out as the first single and it's starting to have success and you're like, well, okay, yeah, obviously this is a hit song.
No, I thought like once we recorded that and like listened to it, I remember listening to it in Boston as we were going to a hotel and just listening to it, like, man, that's a fucking good song. Like that's just really cool. Like, and like the lyrics just work out, and like it just all kind of felt good. So yeah, I think we felt we had something good there. I don't think we felt we had like, our biggest song ever, but definitely felt we had a good song, and we were very proud of that one.
Did you feel the same way with Life of a Soldier and Who's Got It? To me, all three singles sound like hit singles.
Yeah, I mean, Life of a Soldier, that was I was really proud of that one. That song was crazy because that song we had like a music for that for like a year and a half, and we just like I could never figure out a way into it like lyrically or melodically or anyway, and just kept kicking it around. And we'd actually recorded the music for it in Los Angeles for the Green Record, and like I still didn't have like the vocals, but I needed to get something down because we had to record it, and yeah, I just went walking around the neighborhood that we were staying in. I think I actually took a nap actually after the studio. Took a nap and got up, and then
There's a
just
lot of naps in this story. I like it.
yeah. So I got up and I just sort of like it just like all came out within like 20 minutes. All the lyrics, all the melodies, everything was done like super quick. After trying to do it for like a year and a half, it just wouldn't click. And then when it had to, it finally clicked. So I was very happy with that song, Life of Soldier. And Who's Got It? I don't know. That one was more of a collaborative effort, I think, lyrically with everybody. Pat, our DJ at the time, he was always a really good person to write with. He had a great sense of lyrics, and he's just a really good sounding board who I wrote a lot of songs with. At least bounced ideas off a lot with him, and he helped write a lot too.
It's funny that you said for a while you couldn't figure out what to do with the vocals for that song because we have a fan comment sent in. This is from Lanny Davies, who says, I love Life of a Soldier because it shows your voice's capabilities. It's always been my favorite.
Yeah, that's actually my mother-in-law.
Is it?
Yeah,
It's nice to have support from the family.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, yeah. I definitely the voice sounds good on that one, but it was also recorded with, you know, the voice sounds really good because I mean, yeah, I know how to sing more or less, but also Matthew Wilder, who we recorded with, he was really good at like stacking vocals and making it sound like really big, especially with a lot of those falsetto parts in there. He he uh he was really good at getting a good performance out of me. The only other producer who I felt was really good at who got like really good performances out of me was David Kahn, but that's later on in the story, I'm sure.
For our listeners that aren't familiar with Matthew Wilder, he
Yes.
produced the album Tragic Kingdom
Yep.
by No Doubt that sold 16 million copies. How did you end up working with him? What did he bring to the table? Was it because of the success of the No Doubt album and they have a little bit of the reggae vibe as well? Is that what drew you to him?
Yeah, I mean that album Tragic Kingdom, I think everyone, our age would have had that album, especially
I
back.
had it. I remember my uncle bought it for me.
That's a great album, and like it just sounds really good, and it it always just appealed to us. Like everyone in our band likes that album, and we just said to our, like when we got our recording budget, they said, "Who would you like to work with?" And we said, maybe Matthew Wilder. Like I like it's a bit of a long shot. He works in Los Angeles, but we think that he would do a really good job with us. And they asked him, and he said, "Okay." It was basically that simple. It was like, "Do you want to do this?" And he said, "Okay." Matthew Wilder's also he's also a singer in his own right, right? He was from the '80s. He had that song "Breaking My Stride." That ain't nothing but a breaking my stride. Nobody gonna hold me down, which is a
Classic.
banger. That song is so catchy. I mean, even Alvin and the Chipmunks covered it on the old school cartoon. And it's
That's how
funny.
you know you've made it. If Alvin and the Chipmunks cover or
Yeah.
Weird Al cover, then you know you've made it.
Yeah, it's funny when I first like met Matthew and just like trying to cozy up to him, like get a feel for him. I said to him, oh yeah, like it's so cool. Like and like even growing up, like even Alvin and the Chipmunks covered that song. He's like a lot of people covered that song. I was like, okay, fuck. So he wasn't that impressed that Alvin and the Chipmunks covered it.
We have a fan question from Ethan. He asks, I'd love to know if there are any plans to press any vinyl for All Day with it. I'd love it.
Pressing vinyl for All Day with it is difficult for us because Sony owns the masters for it. So it's not even that we don't want to. We do want to, but we have to work out a deal with Sony, and I don't know if we'll be able to do that because they're going to want to charge way too much money for us to buy it from them. And so I'm not sure if we will be able to, but never say never. Maybe one day. It is something we wanted to do, though. It's not like we haven't, we don't want to. It's just we haven't been able to do it.
So the album had you guys tour around the world, Canada, Japan, Germany, the US, Europe. Do you have any favorite memories from your time on the road in promotion of that album?
Promotion of that album, favorite times. I remember, was it there? I think I think we did a favorite moment. I think we did a signing at West Edmonton Mall. And I don't know if it was that record, but we definitely did a signing at West Edmonton Mall outside the HMB that they had there. And for whatever reason, it wasn't promoted properly, but there was like nobody there. So we have this whole like desk thing signed up. We got our markers, and there's maybe like three people who came out to get a signature. It was a total Spinal Tap moment, where they go to the record shop and there's no one there. And yeah, that was funny.
No markers were harmed in that signing.
No markers were used in that signing for sure. But traveling to promote that record, I mean, going to Japan to promote the record there was, I mean, Japan's my favorite place I think I've ever been to in my life. I just love the people there, the efficiency, the courtesy. And like the shows we played were really good. We were supporting a band called Zebrahead, who's like that cliche, like they are literally big in Japan and like nowhere else that I'm really aware of, but they had huge shows there and they're so good. And we got copies of our Japanese release All Day with it, so I have it somewhere. But it's basically the illScarlett release, but they put a little like cardboard like line like thing on the side where it's illScarlett in Japanese kanji, and then inside all the lyrics are in Japanese, and it's just really cool. Like that's another one of those moments. Like, is this real right now? Like, how is this possible that these silly songs written in the basement are released over here in Japan? But yeah, Japan was great. Germany was great. Actually, all of Europe was great. And then also touring Canada. Having a big record like that through Canada was really cool to be able to go to all these markets that we never been to before and have good shows was really cool.
We've talked about Matthew Wilder, who produced the album. I went through the liner notes and the credits, and I have some kind words sent in from someone else that worked on this album. This is from Mike Frazier.
Oh,
And Mike Frazier says, I've always loved Alex's songwriting, and it was a pleasure to mix their album all day with it. So short and sweet from Mike Frazier.
Right. Yeah, Mike was a really nice guy. We met up with him a couple times. He's on the West Coast, so we would see him if we played Vancouver or Victoria. But yeah, he was always a really nice guy too. Yeah. We've had the pleasure to work with a lot of really nice people.
So in 2009, you guys released the follow-up to that, the album One Up. There's two singles, Take It for Granted and Milkshakes and Razor Blades. We have a fan question in reference to the music video for Milkshakes and Razor Blades. Shirley asks, I'd like to know if Alex can still sing Milkshakes and Razor Blades backwards.
I know Shirley too. I know what Shirley you're talking about. Can I still sing Razor Hash Nog Barak and Nog Schnegzi? No, she would schmissive. I can't remember it, but that's a little bit. But yeah. So for that video, we were the director wanted to redo the Far Side's Drop record, which was directed by Spike Jones. Sorry, the other one, Spike Jones. And basically, it's filmed all in like they film it backwards, so that everyone's walking backwards in it, and then they play it. They reverse the footage when they play it back, so it looks weird. The physics are kind of reversed or whatever, and that meant that I had to learn how to sing the song backwards. So it took myself and my buddy Danny, who was our tour manager at the time. It took him and I like 8 or 10 hours, like sitting in the basement with this song with the lyrics reversed, because you can't just like reverse like the spelling and just say it that way. You have to do it phonetically. So you have to phonetically write the lyrics backwards. So it took like 8 hours of just using different, trying to like write a language that doesn't have the sounds, like there's no sounds in English that make these certain sounds. So it's a combination of like English, French, and like Polish of like to create these certain sounds and finish that. And then I think I had like 5 days where I had to memorize the lyrics backwards, and it was a trip. It really was a trip. Like I remember at one point I was like looking at things, like I was making myself dyslexic almost, because I was just so used to being in reverse mode that when I would see certain things, it would go backwards for me. It is wild, but I love that. I love it when you get to do like stuff like that for a music video rather than just play your guitar, sing the song, and look cool. Like I think it's way more exciting, like the Nothing Special video, where you get to do fun stuff and make it different. So yeah, it was a lot of work and made me a little crazy, but it was definitely fun. I loved it.
How did Cardinal Official end up on the song and in the music video?
Cardi was like we had wanted him on that song like pretty early on in the recording of it, and our people reached out to his people, our manager. I don't know who did it, but somebody from our team reached out to their people, and we didn't hear anything back. And then it was literally the last day we had to record this record because um, I guess our producer had to go do something else, and it was literally the last day that we got word that the Cardinal said, like, yeah, like I'll do it. Send me the song. And he talked to Suave a little bit about saying what the song's about. And you know, it would have been like 3 or 4 hours after that he sent it back, fully recorded with all the, like the different ad libs and stuff like that. And I remember that was the day that Michael Jackson died. It was the same day that Michael Jackson died that we finished the record, and that Cardi had sent his bridge over.
The album was produced by the band as well as Robert Carranza.
Yep.
And I have some kind words from Robert Carranza. And he's also worked with Marilyn Manson, the Mars Volta, and Jack Johnson. So Robert says, I really enjoyed how adventurous Alex was when we made the record. I'm meeting them for the first time, and we're kind of feeling each other out. They were really into listening to new ideas and being adventurous in their decisions. They got to work out of their comfort zone, and we had a great time. Alex is a great writer. I miss those guys. That's from Robert Carranza.
Yeah, he was a good dude. He was a good dude. He's worked with a lot of people, and yeah, it was fun. Like all the record, you different records are recorded different ways, and each are fun in their own ways. And yeah, that was a fun record.
Did you feel pressure following up the previous gold selling album when you're writing and recording this album?
Yeah, yeah, for sure you do. And it's hard. I mean, there's that saying that says like a band has their whole life to write their first record and 6 months to write their second record. So it's definitely very rushed. And I think in all honesty, I think we came up short in a lot of places on that record. Not going to blame anybody. It's just circumstance, like running out of time, and we just didn't come up the same way that I think we probably should have. But there are some good songs on that, and yeah, you live, you learn.
We have a fan question about this album. So Brooks Garrett says, I'm excited for this interview. I've been listening to these guys for as long as I can remember. I'd love to know what they feel is the most iconic album or song in their catalog that really represents their sound. Also, which songs were the most experimental for them? Then he says, also, for me, One Up was one of my favorite albums ever, but I remember your interview with Suave where he mentioned something about it not being exactly what they wanted. And I'd love to hear Alex's take on that. So you just mentioned that a little bit. So the questions are, what do you feel are the most iconic albums and songs in your catalog? And were there experimental songs within there?
Okay, so probably our most iconic album is probably the Green album, All Day with It, and probably like Nothing Special, and you know, Nothing Special is probably iconic, I guess, for us. NTF's another big song. Mary Jane, which isn't on that record, but that's another one of our like staples. Like every set ends with Mary Jane. We used to do that because everyone would start smoking joints, and then everyone would get thrown out. So we always did that song last, so that at least people are getting thrown out at the end versus mid show. Um, Experimental wise, I can't think of like super experimental. I think I might know who this guy is though, because I remember him saying "One Up" is his favorite record, and yeah,
Is
yeah,
there
that
any song that kind of stands out in the discography as being a little different than the rest?
a little different. Um, I can't like the like on a later record on our illScarlett record. There's a song called "Remedy," which I think is a little bit more like it started off with like Slavic programming a beat, and so it's a little bit more program heavy compared to like our regular guitars and drum sort of stuff. But I can't think of anything other than that that's like kind of experimental.
So in 2012, you released the 2012 EP. We have a fan question. This is from Johnny Simus from Clarkson. He wanted me make sure that I tell you he's from Clarkson. He
Yeah.
says, I've seen many illScarlett shows over the years, most notably at the Opera House, Reinhard Brewery, Sugar Beach, and even Jake and Alex's acoustic set at Door 55 in Port Credit.
Oh, I
If
know
you
who Johnny is. I know who.
Okay. He says if you had to choose one bucket list venue you'd like to perform at with illScarlett, where would it be? And would you consider playing first class alongside Co to rally the soldiers at that show? So there's a song featuring Co off that EP.
Right. So yeah, that song "First Class" with Co. And what venue would I love to play that never? I can't. I don't know. Carnegie Hall. I don't know. I've been there once and it was beautiful.
I
I
feel
don't.
like Red Rocks would be an
Oh
amazing.
yeah, you're right. That Red Rocks would be really cool too. I wasn't thinking about that. We played, well, like I think the second last Warped Tour, we did a place called at the Gorge. I can't remember what state that was in, but it's like a Red Rocks. It's like a naturally sort of formed amphitheater. But yeah, Red Rocks looks sick. Um, Maybe one of those like punk cruises where like punk bands play on a cruise. That sounds kind of fun. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything else really.
On that album, there's also a song called Livin' Tonight, which features Human Kebab, who is also known as Jason Parsons, who's a member of USS, Ubiquitous Synergy Seeker. He also started the band Divided By with Adam Gonche from 3 Days Grace. And I have some kind words from Jason Parsons. He says, Alex's band took us on our first ever cross Canada tour. We started in Vancouver at the Commodore Ballroom, and right away I was taken aback by his presence both on and off stage. He's always taken himself, his craft, and his band seriously, and that really rubbed off on me over time. Every night I would jump into the crowd to watch their entire set and sing along to his lyrics and melodies. And then he gives you a 10 out of 10 review. So
Yeah,
10 out of 10 from Jason Parsons from USS.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, Jay's awesome. Jay and Ash, both those guys are great from USS. I haven't seen Jay. I think I saw him. He was at our last Horseshoe show. I'm pretty sure that's the last time I saw him. And yeah, he's a great performer too. Like talk about like that band is just like so different, so different, but so fun. Like they really did their own thing. Like are they a rock band? I don't know. They're just they're just two guys who are really good at entertaining people and write really good songs. I was actually shocked like from their first like songs that I heard. They had that one song with Stationary Robbery, which is sort of a quirky sort of fucking song. To later on when they had I can't remember the song titles right now, but
This
like
is the best.
yeah,
And yeah.
um the I got infinite ammunition or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but like I hear it on the edge all the time, and I was like, wow, these guys like really hone their craft. Like man, these are really good like fucking radio songs compared to songs about stealing erasers and calculators. Like they've really they really figured it out.
So as we continue to move through the discography, we've made it to 2014's illScarlett album, the first single, My Money. What's
Yeah.
the story behind that song? Did you ever get your money back?
Yeah, you know what? That wasn't there. I don't know how that song like there wasn't like I never even thought about like no one's ever owed me money that I've like needed to get back or whatever. But I remember like trying to write that song. Like Suave had made the music for it and he sent it to me, and I just went for a walk. I do a lot of walking when I try to write because it just helps focus you, I guess. And basically I was trying to like now break it on down for me nice and slow. I think I tried to write like a Beasties song. I was trying to go for like a Beasties like sort of feel for it. And yeah, that's a song that was written in like, you know, an afternoon. Like it really just fell into place. But there's no story about it. I know there's a friend of ours who I won't mention, but he thought I was talking about him because he owed me money. He didn't owe me money. He like he like borrowed money or something from like so long ago that I didn't even matter. But I remember hearing that he was like, "Is that song about me?" It's like, no, it's not about you.
So let's talk about the four singles that you've released over the since 2023. When it comes to recording new music, do you have a hard drive or an app on your phone where you have just all these ideas you've recorded, whether it's vocal melodies or lyrics or guitar parts?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time, like we do our demos, we'll do it at like either Jake's or Slavic's, and you know, we just run Logic, and you know, a lot of the music will just be MIDI stuff, you know, just because it's easier and faster. And then like loops for the drums and stuff, just to get the song ideas. So that's how we'll record our demos, and then like just the audio notes on the iPhone. Just like if I have a melody idea, I'll put it in there. And I mean the trick isn't recording it. The trick is remembering it and going back and listening to it later. It's like I have so many in here that it's just like I don't want to go, like there's so many to go through. So that's how you do it nowadays. But I don't. Back in the day, we would just play the song over and over again and over again. So it's much more efficient now. I feel.
The four songs that you've released over the last few years are still standing. Ashes Keep On Going with Sky Sweetenham, Island on Fire, and Last Call. How has the reception been for these new songs over the last few years?
They've been okay. Um, nothing crazy, I would feel like. And I know when people come to our shows, they don't really want to hear like new songs specifically. They want to hear the old stuff. But when we do play them, the response is usually pretty good. And there's always a few people who ask if we're going to play these new songs. I guess it's just a weird position to be in. It's like we have all these new songs and stuff like that, but you also don't want to go to a show and play all your new stuff because people want to see your old stuff. And like, who's really who's right? Who, like, these people pay to see you play? You know, give them what the people want, I guess.
The song Ashes kind of feels like an anthem to me. Have you heard any feedback from fans that really latch onto that song, like it helped them get through this or that, or they put it on when they go to the gym, or if they're feeling down, they use it as a pick me up?
Uh,
I might be projecting myself listening to the song.
oh, okay, cool. No, I haven't really heard anyone say that. That was a really fun song to come up with too. Like Slavik and Jake and I, we wrote that one night, and that was another song that sort of just came together like within an evening, like within like probably an hour, 2 hour, like within 2 hours, we had it all recorded as a demo, and it was just like a cool kind of reggae tune. We don't need to do that, and then it was my girlfriend, my wife, my person. Like, we're not married, but we've been together for like 17 years, so it's whatever she is.
The boss lady.
Yeah, the one who figured out how to work the Zoom earlier. It was her idea. She's like, you should get Sky to sing on this record. And I was like, that's not a bad idea because Sky's such a talent. She's such a talent. And it felt like it would be a cool sort of place for her to hop in on the bridge. It was sort of, to me, it sort of felt like that part in that No Doubt song, Underneath It All, where Lady Saw comes in for that like post bridge part, I guess it's called, and I was thinking that Sky could do something like that, and she didn't do exactly that, but what she did was perfect. Like when I first heard it, I was like, perfect, and she's such a talent.
This interview just wouldn't feel right if I didn't have kind words from Sky Sweetnam. So Sky says, Alex is the sweetest. I was so honored when he and illScarlett asked me to be a feature on their track Ashes. I've always loved Alex's voice. Since I first heard Heaters, I was a fan and will always be a fan of illScarlett. That's from Sky Sweetnam.
That's sweet. Sky, yeah, Sky is such a talent, and like off on and off stage, she is just so dialed in, like with sumo, and just everything she does, like everything, like DIY, like she is DIY, like she's like Fugazi, like DIY, like everything she does is her own. She makes the own merch. She does the website. She takes orders,
Music videos.
acts order. Dude, the music videos she does are insane. Like it's like just so crazy, and she's so sweet, and yeah, like even like, and she's come so far from like, Sky Sweetnam, that we all remember her, tangled up in me, which is a banger tune. In fact, my daughter sings that song all the time. She knows all the words, and yeah, no, her and Matt Drake are the two that, they're our homies. They're definitely homies.
Last year, I saw you guys at the Brass Monkey, and I actually saw Sumo Psycho at the same venue not that long ago either. And man, they tore it up just like you guys. So two awesome Canadian bands that put on a great live show.
Yeah, no, they are great. They're unreal, and it's crazy too because, again, with like sumo, like the type of music and the singing that she does compared to like how we first met Sky, back in the day, it's crazy.
The lyrics in the song Island on Fire, the section, the burn or drown, either way I lose. I think that's awesome lyrically. Do you remember coming up with those lyrics or the idea for that song, kind of a metaphor?
Yeah, we were in where were we in? We were on Victoria Island, Vancouver Island. I'm sorry, Vancouver Island, and we had played Victoria, and we were supposed to play Tofino, I think, but the fires had closed down the road, so we couldn't play. So we had a few days off. So we had an Airbnb, and we all just sat around just writing that song. And again, it was another collaborative effort where like Doherty, Suave, Jake, and Steve, our merch guy, and even Krusty, you know, our tour manager was there, and we were all just like throwing ideas around. And yeah, that one came together pretty quick too. Um, I can't remember what the burn highway I lose. Yeah, I think it's just being in a relationship where it's like, it's like it either ends. I either stay here and I burn and it all goes to shit, or I can leave now, but that's also going to hurt a lot too. So what do you do? Burn or drown?
Yeah, it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. Is
Sure, yeah.
one better? So I'm hearing rumblings of a potential new album in 2026. You can say as much or as little as you want about this if things have to be released in a certain order. So is it true that there's a new album on the way? And if it's true, will it be a full album? Will it be an EP? And then if all of that is true, the singles that have already been released, are those standalone singles or will they be the foundation for this new album coming up? So you can tell me, Joel, this is private information. I can't share anything. Anything you can give us as illScarlett fans.
No, no. Yeah, we wanted to have it released for the end of this year, but we just didn't get it done. And we were actually going to do an EP for the end of this year, but we started writing and it's sort of sounding good. So we're like, maybe we should just do a full length. So that's why we missed our deadline for this last fall. But yeah, we're gonna have a full length. Those songs will be on there, and yeah, hopefully in the spring, I guess of the next year, we'll have a full length out there. Just gotta put a few more songs on there, and it'll be ready to go. And then, yeah, we'll do the new record thing all over again.
And when looking ahead at 2026, do you have a vision for how you'd like the year to play out for the band? So, a new album, you've announced one show. Are you expecting some touring around the album as well?
Yeah, so if we put out the album, we'll definitely try to tour around that. It's also going to be the 20th anniversary of the epidemic, so we're going to do something with that too. Whether it's a tour or like a big show in Toronto or a couple markets. But yeah, we'll probably be across the country a couple times next year, and you know, coming to a town near you.
The one show that's been announced, there's a festival in Pigeon Lake, Alberta. The lineup is amazing. illScarlett, Walk Off the Earth, Magic, and Everclear, and a bunch
Yeah.
more like Yukon Blonde. If our listeners go right now and purchase a ticket to this festival, if they live in the area, or they want to buy a ticket to a hypothetical show coming next year when you guys go on tour, what can they expect if it's their first illScarlett experience in concert?
If it's their first ill scar, well, we're gonna come out there. It's gonna be Alberta, so Alberta's great, great, great province. One of our favorite places to be. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We always have tons of fun in Alberta. You're going to get high energy, um, loud. Um, it's going to be a little bit like we're not formal at all. So like don't think you have to be put on airs or anything like that, because we're just gonna go out there, have fun, tell some jokes, probably watch John smoke a joint or something, and
Play
yeah.
some hits, maybe get to hear some new songs.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But we're gonna play songs for sure. Play the old songs, play some new songs, and afterwards, we're done. We're always out in the crowd, so please come and say hi to us, whether it's at the merch or at the bar, or just walking around. Like, we're never too busy to hang out, and talk to anyone who wants to talk to us.
And when you play a festival like that, what is your favorite part of playing festivals? Does it feel like a family reunion when there's a bunch of bands on the bill and you know some of the bands or some of the members?
Yeah, yeah. For a lot of times, like yeah, you get to see a lot of bands that you don't usually see all the time. Festivals are also good because they're usually like like the production's really good. You don't have to do a lot for yourself. They usually have people out there who have already put your gear on stage. It's just a lot of fun, and especially Alberta. They take care of you out there. So really looking forward to that for sure. I think it's also on my birthday too. I forget what the dates are on that.
Maybe it is your birthday. That'll be quite the party. We have, I believe, the final fan question, and this is from the biggest illScarlett fan that I know. This is from James Mazurski. And
Jimmy. Yeah.
yeah, he loves you guys. Anytime I hang out with him, he talks about illScarlett. Joelle, are you coming to the Christmas show? Like, do you want to drive 6 hours to this show? And it's like, well, they're coming to Ottawa. We'll go to
How
the
do you know
Ottawa show.
James?
Um, from
I
the
guess you live by the Clarkson Go, right? So you would.
Yeah, from the open mics, I was friends with Anthony Carone's sister, and I
Yeah.
think he's maybe best friends with her. And we end up at open mics and concerts. And I went and hung out with him last time I was in Mississauga. So James is awesome. And his question is, besides guitar and vocals, what other instruments have you wanted to learn? And what's one band you shared the stage with that was a dream come true?
Instruments I'd want to learn. Um, I mean, piano would be great. I'd love to learn how to play piano like properly, like Anthony. Like that guy's a phenom. Um, I mean, I can play drums kind of. I'd love to be able to play drums better or more. Um, Bass. I guess I'll learn to play anything. Would be really cool. Um, yeah, there's no specific instrument that I'm dying to learn that I haven't. And what's the next question? What's the
Was there
Oh, right, bands that we played
your
with.
favorite band that you've ever shared the stage with?
I mean, it's been really cool to play with. Like, we've got to open up for like Weezer, huge Weezer fan. Opened up for Blink a couple times. Did a tour with Billy Talent. Um,
Those guys are so good live.
yeah, they're unreal. Those guys are good, and then super down to earth, like just Saga boys, just just chill. Yeah, opening up for Weezer was probably like I'm a huge Weezer fan. One of my favorite songwriters, I think, is Rivers. So yeah, playing with them at the ACC was so cool.
At the ACC. That's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah. They played the ACC, and in like a weird sort of like thing that happened. I got like at the time I had a BlackBerry, and I got this BBM message from a guy, and like the name was just Cujo, and he was just like, "Hey, a friend of mine says you're playing at the ACC or whatever with Weezer. You think you can get me tickets?" I was like, "Who is this?
Who's this Cujo?
Who's this Cujo?" And then I realized it's goddamn Curtis Joseph sends me a direct message on
The
BBM.
goalie from the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yeah, and I was like, is this Curtis Joseph? He's like, yeah. And I guess like I was dating a girl at the time who was friends with a girl that he was dating, and he's like, yeah, can you get me tickets? I was like, yeah, for sure. So yeah, I put Curtis Joseph on my guest list to the ACC to open up for Weezer, and then he came backstage and he was just drinking like Jack Daniels straight with us and everything. He was really cool.
Is that the most famous name you've ever put on a guest list?
Must be, yeah. It has to be, yeah, for sure.
That's the best case scenario when you get a random text message from someone you don't know.
Yeah, yeah, totally, yeah, yeah, totally. Just direct BBM me Cujo. Like, who the fuck?
So you're talking about the Weezer concert at the ACC. That's the
Mhm.
big arena that fits, I don't know, 18,000, 20,000 people.
Yeah, I think it's 18. Yeah.
Can you remember the biggest show you guys ever played? Would it be an arena like that? Or sometimes there's festivals that are just absurd?
It must have been like either that, like we did that, like we did a tour with Avril too. We went
Wow.
from Toronto to St. John, Newfoundland. St. John's. Which one is it? Whatever Newfoundland is. Um, yeah, so we played a bunch of arenas with her. So those are really big. The Molson Amphitheater or Bud Stage, I guess it's called now. Um, the Rogers. We played with Blink in BC in Vancouver at the I forget the Rogers Arena, or I think it's called something different now. They keep changing all these arenas. I don't know, but yeah, probably those arena shows are probably the biggest stages we ever played.
You've been doing music for a very long time. You look like you're having as much fun as ever. How do you keep this fun after all this time?
It's been really fun lately. I think now because like we don't have a label anymore, we're sort of independent again. That we don't really have it's just like we know we're all doing this now because we enjoy doing it and we have fun doing it. So it's been really fun. It's been like the most fun actually, I think, as a whole band is the last few years because there's not so much pressure, I guess it is. Um, yeah, it's just, it's like it's fun now more than what it was, especially when things started not going so well with the label and everything like that after like the second record and like things just weren't lining up for us that it kind of got a little less fun and a little stale, I guess. But we took a bit of a break, and COVID sort of shut everything down too for a bit, and then we got back at it, and now it's a lot more fun now.
We've made it to the final few questions of the interview. You've accomplished so much. Gold record, number one single on the Much Music Countdown, Juno nominated, Much Music Video Award nominations. Do you have any dreams that still haven't been attained that you're holding in your heart that you're working towards, or are you a man fulfilled?
Well, I mean, I guess my dreams now would be I had my two of my kids in the summer came and saw us play at All Your Friends Fest, and that was like the best. It was such a good show, and I was glad that they got to see us play at a good show. That's definitely one of my favorite top five shows like we've ever played. It was just everything was just perfect for that show. But I had twins like 15 months ago, 16 months ago, so I guess I would love to still be playing in this band and playing big shows when they're old enough to come and see me play. So I guess that would be the next dream for my two boys to come and see me play.
In which ways did becoming a parent change you as a person? So these are young kids, but you have a few older kids as well.
Yeah, I have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and now I have two 15-month-old boys.
So 8 years ago, when you became a parent, how did that
Yeah.
change you?
Um, it, like it changes you in the sense, I guess you just have to like think a little bit more. But I mean, like being a parent, like I always thought it'd be like, oh well, that's it. That's it. You better hang up those stirrups and just stop being cool and get a cardigan and do all that stuff. But no, like the kids are cool. Like Suave has kids too, so we all hang out. He has two girls, and then I bring my kids over, and we all just like hang out, and it's still we still party. We just got to put the kids to bed first.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. We're still out here having a good time.
Yeah.
Do your kids think you're a rock star or just some schmuck at home?
I think that actually they're always telling me like they're actually very complimentary. They like having Alexa play our songs. Drives me insane, but they like to put on illScarlett all the time.
You can
And
see the monthly listener numbers keep going up there. The kids are helping.
yeah, no, they totally do. But yeah, we were listening. I forgot. I was driving home the other night with my daughter, and and we were listening to some song. I can't remember what it was. I don't know what it was, but you know what it was? It was "Take on Me," and that was playing on the radio. And then my son said, "Doesn't this sound like Daddy singing?" He's like, "Yeah." She's like, "But your songs are better." So
Nice.
yeah, so they're very
They think you're better than one of the biggest hit
uh,
singles of all
yeah,
time. Those are
yeah,
some good supportive kids.
yeah, they're good. They don't know anything, but
When you look back on your life and career, what are you most proud of?
I guess I'm most proud of is that we we started a band with dudes from my high school, like literally John and Suave. I've known them. I met them in high school. We were friends before we were in a band together, and we just did it because we loved hanging out together and playing music together. And yeah, we just did it all from the basement. There's no cheat code, no nothing. We just did it and just did it through hard work of touring and touring, and yeah, I guess that's what I'm most proud of.
And now when you look back on your life and career, what are you most grateful for?
Grateful. I guess I'm just grateful that people have been so supportive of us, especially over such a long time. Too, like our fans are so great, and they still come out to shows. Like it's just really nice to have people who still care and come out and are, they come up and talk to us. And yeah, I guess I'm so grateful for that.
If you could sit down next to your 10-year-old self and you could whisper words of advice, taking everything you've learned since 10 years old, the lessons, the mentorship, the experiences, the highs and lows, the successes and failures, what do you whisper to cute little Alex sitting there to guide him through this human experience?
I I don't know. I guess I would just say try not to worry about everything so much. Usually things work out in the end. You just got to keep going. If you ever find yourself going through hell, keep going because it's the fastest way out.
As we wrap up, I want to take a moment to acknowledge you for your lifelong pursuit of mastery as a guitarist, as a singer-songwriter. I want to commend you for having a big vision for your life, setting goals, having a big dream, working towards those goals on a daily basis. You've accomplished so much, and you've shown the rest of us what's truly possible if we also commit to achieving our dreams. I want to thank you for putting out great music that's become the soundtrack to the lives of millions of people around the world, mine included. And last but not least, I want to thank you for this interview, sitting down with me for the last 2 hours, answering all my crazy illScarlett questions that I've had since way back in the day. So, Alex, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Joel. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So, to the Alex Norman fans, the illScarlett fans, the podcast fans, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Who would you like me to feature next for a 2-hour deep dive interview? You can let me know in the comments. You can also send me an email at joelmartinmastery@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on all social media platforms at joelmartinmastery. So I am done. I am complete. I approve this message, and I'll see you on the next episode.